everybody and get some booms in the chat for the playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various type of wins in the Eastern 9-hole Cup. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. And before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner. Also, visit golfclashtommy.com for more Golf Clash related content, especially our lovely little win chart creator. Last but not least, do go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy, link in the description down below. There you can get the best tournament text guides on the market. Make sure to check them out and give yourself an advantage over your opponent. As always in our playthroughs here, we do have the info box on the right hand side where you see the elevation for the first shot, and if so the second shot if we have one. Then in the end we do have what type of ball I would like you to play with, or at least suggest you to play with, and also what type of club that I think is going to be the key club to do well in this tournament. Have in mind that it's various type of wins, so I'm going to talk a lot, I'm going to explain different type of routes and what to do. So make sure you listen with sound so you do understand and follow the way that we are playing. In the end, enough talking about that. Make sure you enjoy it and make sure to comment if you do have any questions. Let's go, hole number 1. For hole number 1 here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you a bit more aggressive approach even when we do have a crosswind. And that approach is going to be to get the ball to bounce in between the bunker, over the water and the rough. Can you play this shot if you do have an extra mile level 7 or below when I'm only having a 4.5 bar topspin? No. Reason is then you have to play as so close to the rough line there at top. And the most likely thing that's going to happen is that the second bounce is going to clip the rough on the other side and therefore roll, so you have the trees in your face. So I would not suggest that if you do have less than 6 bars of topspin. But I think it's refreshing to actually take a look at the shot like this. 6 bars of topspin, as much side spin to the right possible, and then we bounce over the water and the rough, gaining as much distance possible, and that will leave us up to a very open shot towards the pin. 10% over adjustment is what we're doing with our drive, and if you want and can, a kingmaker would be nice to play with, but you can play with a titan. It doesn't really matter. It's the power 3 that we are looking for, and obviously reducing the wind makes it a little bit easier, but in the end it doesn't make it impossible to play with any other ball. Our opponent plays with Apocalypse level 2 and a navigator ball, and as always on this hole, if you do not have the equipment or the ball to play with here, it is just to lay up on the left. You cannot really do anything, so you lay up on the left trying to stay away from the rough and the sand on the right, and then you will have to just be or try to convince yourself that okay, a birdie is fine here, but once we get into the spot that we are now, we do have an opportunity for the eagle, even though it's not a super duper good, but it's still an opportunity. So now we're going to aim with a little side spin coming right to left. This because we do not want to put our target in the slope on the left. So we do want to try to have as flat bounce possible. No elevation is what I'm playing with on this shot here, and only measuring the club's distance. Trying to get the ball guideline aiming at the hole, and then we're going to adjust for the 7.4 miles per hour and then take our shot. One thing that I want to add as well, after we hit this great shot, which also actually goes into the hole, which is not which is not happening all the time obviously, but let's say you do have a straight tailwind for the drive, then you can play aggressive on the right hand side, trying to actually reach green in one. Unfortunately I do not have a video of that, but if that's the win in the tournament, that's the way we're gonna play. But nice one to start with here on hole number 1. For hole number 2, we are going to play a classic. In this one, we have played so many times in tournament that I have lost count. So here we do have 2 ways of playing this hole. In a crosswind and in a headwind, we play with a driver, which is going to be the quarterback or the rock. I choose the quarterback as I'm more comfortable with the quarterback, but I'm nothing against if you play with the rock. If we do have a tailwind for the tee shot here, we are going to play with a sniper. And why do we play with the sniper and not any other wood club? Due to its accuracy, but especially for its ball guideline, because then we can see the ball guideline on the green and be able to adjust with that in mind. But we do have headwind here in this example, and we're using the quarterback, and we're going to try to find the minimum distance line. 2 bars of backspin, as much side spin to the right possible. And you can see that I'm pulling it back as much as I possible can into minimum distance, looking for the red ring by the rough there to the right. Use that as a reference. Now we adjust minimum distance with a 10% over adjustment. So as we are obviously in minimum distance. So I adjust 7 rings. And even if we drop down into the bunker, we shall not push up anything. We hit a great left unfortunately here, and you're gonna notice here that we come in a little bit too much left, and therefore we are going to just barely miss this hole on the left hand side. This is a good opportunity for an hole-in-one, in my opinion, one of the better opportunities in the whole 9-hole cup. For hole number 3, we're going to go full blast down the middle, berserker ball. Very important here, especially when we do have a club like the Extra Mile level 7. Here, it's not really preferred to play with the big topper. The reason I say that is because we do need a lot of distance. And sometimes, especially if you do have a driver that do have distance, but then the big topper does have the topspin, then it kind of evens itself out. So, Extra Mile level 7 is it's definitely a little bit on the low side. I would like to have at least an Extra Mile level 8 or maybe a Thor's Hammer level 4, Apocalypse level 2, like a club that at least have 6 bars of topspin and still then have distance. So for those of you playing with lower level clubs here in Pro are going to see, for those of you playing with low level clubs in Pro is going to have an issue on this hole. Those of you having a higher level club like Thor's Hammer level 6, Apocalypse level 5 plus will instead have a much easier time. But it doesn't mean that it's easy to get the eagle nonetheless. It is still going to have to be worked for. 10% over adjustment is what we do for the drive. And then second shot, now we're going to find ourselves with the tailwind in our back, which is very valuable, but we do need to have a club with distance. Cataclysm or the big dog, no other club to play with in my opinion. The thing that we're gonna do here is to try to just lay up and lay up. The thing we're gonna try to do is to lay up the ball on the green and not look for the albatross in any form. You can see the green, how thin that is, and you can also know that the green does slope massively down the hill. If you're way too close to the bunker, the ball will roll down into the bunker, and that could danger the possibility of an eagle. And as you maybe have noticed as well, that this is not an eagle hole. Like, this is generally a birdie hole that we're playing for. That's why the only way for us to get the eagle here, if not chipping it in from long distance, is to have tailwind from the start. So if you do have tailwind, then the eagle is an absolute must. Berserker ball, a big dog, or the Cataclysm for the wood club, and then obviously full blast for the drive. 10% over adjustment for the first shot, nothing for the second. For hole number 4, we are going to play either left side or right side. If we do have a club with a minimum 4.5 bar topspin, and we do have a crosswind and a tailwind coming left to right, or more just a straight tailwind, the right side is the preferred route. Put ourselves into max distance with a katana ball, 4.5 bar topspin and as much side spin to the right possible. 10% over adjustment, and then we're going to apply approximately 1 ball of curl. Unfortunately, we do hit great right here, but as you can see, we're still safe. We easily hit the fairway, and we're gaining the distance that we do want. The thing that we do want is to get the ball to go past the trees, so we then have an open shot for the second shot. You could see that I play with an extra mile level 8, and obviously you can play the drive there with a different type of level of the extra mile or different type of other club. The only important part is that you do have at least the curl around, I would say at least 75% of the ball being able to be outside the adjustment ring to the right. If you don't have that, you're gonna have to do what your opponent is doing. And if you have a straight tailwind, this is also a possibility to go on this side here, because we can get very close to the green by doing a more aggressive shot there to the left. But as we are now on the right hand side, we are going to use the side spin now on our sniper. So as much side spin possible, and we're going to aim with the ball guideline to the hole. Have in mind that the green is a little bit glitchy, so it could be tough sometimes to get the speed correct, but it's very important obviously that you do try. Adjusting without any elevation for the second shot is what we're gonna do, and then we obviously going to try to hit the ball perfect. And you can see that the ball coming in here, we coming in pretty hot, we hit the pin, but it goes in for a nice little eagle. If you're going to play on the left hand side, the rough bump is more preferred, depending obviously how far you're reaching, but the rough bump there is also a very nice opportunity. And if you're going to play the rough bump, you're going to play that 10% over adjustment. So no elevation for the second shot on the right hand side, 10% over adjustment from the left. For hole number 5, we're going to have, in my opinion, one of the tougher par 3s to make an hole-in-one on in the whole game. And the reason I say that is because we don't really have a clear line directly at the pin. Sure, we can hit that tiny bit of fairway into the water there, but it's not going to be just hitting that and then you automatically get an hole-in-one. It's going to be hitting that with the risk of going into the water if you adjust wrong or hit a great shot, and then you're going to have to rely on the roll on the back end of the green. Our opponent is choosing the right hand side, and if you're playing right side, you're going to have to just be prepared of getting a birdie, because you're getting it up there off the fairway and it's going to then fall down. Now our opponent didn't get that high up, but the higher up you get, the more you're gonna fall down, and there is no way whatsoever to get that ball to roll towards the pin for an hole-in-one. Then you need to massively curl that one and get, you know, basically straight on top of the pin. So the thing that I'm going to do in tailwind here especially, and in crosswind, is that I'm going to try to play left side, and I'm going to try to get my ball to just bounce on the fringe up towards the back end of the green and fall back down. It's going to be a very technical and difficult adjustment, and have in mind that with a bad shot here, you might experience the ball to become wet. 10% over adjustment, max distance, and when we are adjusting now, we need to have in mind that we go from a lower point to a higher point. So we either need to compensate for that from the start, or we need to pull back once we are done. We bounce on the fairway, we get very high up, but that also goes towards the fact that, you know, we didn't pull back anything. The ball rolls down nicely, but we are not really close. This is very, very tough par 3. Getting a hole-in-one here, it's not going to be easy. For hole number 6, we're going to play a tough par 5, and here I'm looking first and foremost to see, should we try to play on the fairway, bounce into the rough and roll out. But the problem is I do not have the distance, I do not have the top spin, and the drive is going to be too tough. So I do change my mind, and then changing my mind to going straight down on the left hand side, even though I do have tailwind, and using 1 to half a bar of backspin and as much side spin to the right possible. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment is what we do adjust, and then we're going to take our shot. You maybe wonder, why, Tommy, don't you go with a power slice? I will. We're just going to play more or less a straight and safe shot here for the eagle, and then we're going to definitely take a look at the power slice and see the benefits with that, because it's going to be beneficial to play with the power slice here in this hole, especially in tailwind. And the reason for that is that we then actually get ourselves at, even though it's not a good one many of the times, but it's going to be an albatross attempt. As said, maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. And now for the second shot, it's super duper important that you don't do the mistake like our opponent is doing, using a sniper. Because if you're playing here on the left hand side, you cannot use the sniper because you're going to most likely struggle many of the times. Now our opponent makes an absolutely brilliant shot there from the side, but give yourself a little bit more distance using a club with more distance like the big dog here, and then you're going to see that you're going to have a much easier time getting this ball to green. 2 to 3 bars of topspin, max side spin to the right, or at least as much as you possible can, together with the 3 topspin. Then we adjust for, again, maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and then it's time to take our shot. Maximum curl is needed, and then you can see that I'm using a teeny tiny bit of overpower just to make sure that I'm getting myself to green. If I do go onto the fringe or I get to the fairway just before the green, I'm not going to be mad or sad about that. It's just going to be a different way of getting the eagle. Now, power slice. I use a power 1 ball here in straight tailwind, but I would suggest you to use a power 2 ball, a katana ball. You stretch out your target into max so you don't miss any distance, and then you're using as much side spin to the right possible with 4 bars of topspin. You can use 5 bars of topspin as well if you want to, and then you will get it down there to the fairway. The tricky part with the power slice is to get it either before those trees or after them. And that's going to be very difficult to control because we're playing with a different wind angle from time to time. We have a different wind strength, and the only thing that you will obviously have to make sure about is to not go into that freaking bunker on the that we were very close to bounce into. So therefore, use a ball with a little bit more power so you can get a little bit higher up, and that's going to be then much better for you. So here when I'm playing a power slice, I'm not really using an adjustment. I'm just putting my target into max distance, pointing it at the rock, as you could see there with the other tree section. That's basically what I do, and trying to not think about it that much. Obviously, if you do have a more angled type of wind, you need to measure and you need to adjust it more properly. And obviously we will get into that if that's going to be what it takes when it comes to the tournament win, because now we don't know the tournament win, so we just obviously need to have that in mind. Second shot, we play with a long iron. As you can see that even if we do have the trees in our face, if we are a bit lucky here, we can actually play through the trees and still have an albatross attempt. And here, you know, we need to use a club with at least, 4 to 5 bars of backspin, and the Saturn is a good club for that. But obviously for those of you playing with at least a Goliath level 6, should not have any issues playing this type of shot. So even though we play through the tree and give ourselves an opportunity for the albatross, it would be better if we stop before the trees, so we do have an open shot towards the pin, or we go past the trees as we once again have an open shot towards the pin. 10% over adjustment for the second shot, and then as I said, 10% for the drive. For hole number 7, we are in the first option here, going to play on the right hand side, using a driver that gives us a lot of distance. In this case, it's going to be the extra mile. Doesn't have to be the extra mile level 8, it can be all the way down to extra mile level 4, level 5. 2.5 bar topspin and as much side spin to the right possible. And now we're going to stretch out, so we do see our target on the little fairway platform, and from there we do adjust maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. The plan here for us is to get this ball to bounce on the fairway over to the other fairway and gain as much distance possible without obviously rolling into the rough. And as you're going to notice, we're going to get to a yardage, and that is going to be 359 yards. And those yardage is very important to remember. The reason is that we're playing a linear way here, means that we're playing directly at the pin. We are playing straight shot, and therefore we can rely on yardage notes here. And I understand it's a mini tournament, we don't have that many goes on every hole, but we at least have a few goes. And if we can have a reference every time we play, we're definitely going to be generally closer than our opponents. Now our opponent is playing straight down the middle on the left, and that is the way that I'm going to show after we have been getting this ball to bounce in the rough and up in the hole. So our opponent gets into the rough, and obviously he or she has no reason to be worried if can reach from there. Is still going to be fine. Second shot here, now we're going to play with a Goliath in minimum distance of our club. And the thing is here that we do need to use a little topspin here, because we are going to bounce in a very massive downhill or uphill slope, whatever you want to call it. And you can see that I'm using 2 bars of topspin, no side spin whatsoever, and then letting the ball guide line go slightly through the hole. For those of you playing with the B52, then the ball guide line need to, like B52-7, like a ball guide line, like better ball guide line than the Goliath 8, then you need to have a longer ball guide line through the hole. Now I unfortunately hit great, or like fortunately I do hit great when it comes to getting this one in the hole, but that means that my shot was under adjusted. I adjusted 1.9 rings, which is minimum distance with no elevation, but I should have played minimum distance plus 10, which would have been 2.1 rings, which would have dropped if it would have been a perfect. So second option here, we play straight down the middle, you're coming directly into the action, and the drive is super duper simple. You just need to get the ball down there, and you're getting it around 380 to 390 yards. That's what we're going to look for. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment is what we play the drive, exactly as if we would be going on the right hand side. And here you can see like our opponent trying to play this route with a Marlin. Obviously it's gonna be a possibility, but why make it so tough for yourself? Use a ball that you can reach. If we play from the left hand side with a tailwind, I would suggest a katana ball due to its side spin for the second shot, and also a kingmaker instead of a titan, at least, so we do have side spin for the second shot. It's going to be fairly important, especially if we do have a pretty short drive. Second shot, it's either going to be the sniper or it's going to be the Goliath, or it's either going to be a wood club or it's going to be a long iron. Here I'd rather go with a wood club, going with max backspin and as much side spin possible, and now we're going to have to apply some curl. Sure, I can move my target closer to the rough on the right, but the problem we do have there is that if we adjust too much and too far down, we are going to risk getting the ball to clip the rough, and then we're going to struggle massively from getting that birdie to be saved. So rather start a little bit further out on the fairway and then use curl, so you're not gonna struggle with that rough. And the ball comes in here a little bit too much to the right. The second shot plays minus 10%, so it's an uphill adjustment, and therefore the ball will not be as affected by the wind as normal. Once again, we come to a par 3 that is very difficult. The Southern Pines are kind of famous for having difficult par 3s and long par 4s and long par 5s. Here, I would like us to actually play with a power 3 ball. The reason I want us to play with a power 3 ball is to give ourselves the distance, especially in headwind. Now you can see that I'm playing with a quarterback, but I do suggest the rocket. So which one should you choose? You should choose the rocket. The reason we want to choose the rocket is to be able to play with a max backspin shot in headwind, in crosswind. And if we do have the rocket level 9, we do have more backspin than we do have with the quarterback level 10. So I don't really know why I'm playing with the quarterback, because in the end we do need more backspin. But you can see the trick here. Use as much backspin possible. The ball guideline should be aiming to come on the left side of the pin, up the hill, fall down towards the pin. That is going to be the absolute easiest way to get the ball close, to secure an easy birdie, but at least give yourself a good chance for an hole-in-one. If we do have a tailwind, we do have to back up, and we do have to play with the sniper due to its ball guideline and its accuracy. And then we play, if so, on the right-hand side, in my opinion, trying to bounce over the bunker, or like as our opponent is trying to do, but he's trying to use the driver in headwind. But playing there on the fairway over the sand, and then obviously to the pin. 10% over adjustment is what we're playing here. Again, you know, if you get an hole-in-one, be super lucky. Sorry, not super lucky, be super happy and take it, because it's going to be very, very rare. For hole number 9, we are going to play with Mr. Topper. Big Topper. What a lovely club. Especially, you know, when we do have tailwind here. The Big Topper is, in my opinion, the best suggestion if you're not playing with a Thor Hammer level 6 plus or with an Apocalypse level. I would say level 5 plus. The reason I think those clubs are better than the Big Topper is due to it has more distance. And it's also easier than to control, so we do not have to go with any overpower. But in any other situation, then it's time to play with Big Topper. So we play with a Berserker ball, we play with Big Topper. You see I have the Big Topper level 5, which do have more distance than let's say a Big Topper level 3 to 1. So the Berserker ball will be really helpful no matter what type of level you have the Big Topper in. Max top spin, 1 bar left spin. And the plan here is obviously to get this ball to bounce as close to the rough and the sand possible and gain as much distance as possible. And maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment is the initial adjustment. As you could see, I didn't even adjust there. I just put it into maximum distance and then took my shot. If you're gonna put yourself into maximum distance, you need to have a maximum of 9 miles per hour. If you do have more than 9 miles per hour, you need to back up a little bit, but that could be good to know, that have 9 miles per hour, you can just put it into max distance with Big Topper level 5. But my strong suggestion would be to always try to adjust, push up, and do it the normal way. Second shot, I'm going for the rough bump. Why do I go for the rough bump and not just playing on the right side of the rough here? The reason is that I'm actually going for a teeny tiny bit of chance albatross, but with that great right, I will not be clipping the rough, and therefore I will be rolling over. Most likely, many of the times I will roll into the bunker. So really, if you're going for the rough bump, make sure that you hit it. Otherwise, you play on the right side of the rough, just make it easy for you to get to the green into taking the eagle, which will not be something that everyone is doing here for hole number 9. 5% over adjustment for the second shot is what we're gonna do, and this is purely an eagle hole. Getting an albatross here, it is extremely rare. It's more common to get a birdie. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division for the 9-hole cup, the Easter 9-hole cup here in Golf Clash. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and make sure that you comment in the comment section below if you do have any questions. Also, make sure that you do subscribe to patreon.com/golfclashtommy to get the best guides on the market and get yourself an advantage over your opponents. In the end, thank you so much once again for watching, and good luck in the tournament.